Okay, so have you ever gotten kind of freaked out by how well your smart speaker seems to know you? Like it suggests a song before you even realize you're in the mood for it.
You're definitely not alone in feeling that way. What we're seeing now with things like Alexa and, Google Home, it's not just about basic commands anymore. It's getting really personalized. Like imagine your AI assistants basically becoming your own personal DJ.
Whoa, okay, so instead of just playing whatever, it's like actually understanding my taste.
Yeah, exactly. Like it knows you so well it can practically predict your next musical craving.
That's kind of wild and a little creepy, not going to lie. But how did we even get to this point where these AI assistants are getting so, I don't know, intuitive?
Well, to really grasp that, we need to rewind a bit. Think about the evolution of AI assistants, like starting with, Siri.
Siri, the OG, right? Back when talking to your phone was still kind of weird.
Exactly. That was back in 2011, and it was our first taste of like voice-activated everything. Then a few years later, boom, Alexa explodes onto the scene.
And Amazon really changed the game with that, taking it beyond just phones and into our homes.
Right, absolutely. And what's crazy is how much Alexa can do now. I mean, we're talking over 100,000 skills. Ordering a pizza, settling a bet with a random trivia fact, you name it.
100,000? Seriously? That's insane. It's like having a, what do you call it? A Swiss Army knife of digital helpers always ready to go.
Haha, exactly. And of course, we can't forget about Google Assistant entering the scene like 2016-ish.
Google always got to be the brains of the operation.
Right. And they brought their A game to the AI assistant world for sure. But here's the thing. Even though Siri, Alexa, and Google Assistant all have their strengths, they're all built on the same foundation, which is this thing called machine learning.
Okay, so that's the secret sauce.
It is. Every time you talk to your AI, it's not just responding, it's like taking notes, learning your habits, what you like, even how your voice sounds, and using all that to get to know you better.
Okay, now that is both really cool and slightly terrifying.
Haha, yeah.
But so, like the more I use it, the smarter it gets.
Basically, it's like constantly leveling up its understanding of you.
So it's not just about me speaking clear or whatever. It's actually learning from every single interaction.
Precisely. And here's where it gets even cooler or creepier, depending on how you look at it. It's not just about recognizing what you're saying. It's about understanding the context.
Okay, now you're losing me a bit. What do you mean by context?
So imagine you tell your AI, play some music for cooking. A basic system might just play anything, right? But a system that gets context would choose something upbeat, maybe high energy.
To match the, frantic chopping and stirring. I get it.
Haha, precisely. It's like, okay, they're cooking. They probably need a little pep in their step.
That's kind of amazing,
Yeah.
but also a little scary. Are we giving these companies way too much information about ourselves?
It's a valid concern for sure. It's like the trade-off for this whole personalized AI thing is our data. Every interaction, every preference, even every weird late night question you ask your smart speaker, it's all collected and analyzed.
And that data is valuable, right?
Yeah.
It's how they make these eerily accurate recommendations and stuff. But it does make you think about where the line is.
Definitely something to consider as we, go further down this road. It's kind of wild when you think about it, right? Like just a few years ago, talking to our phones seemed like, I don't know, something out of a movie. Now we're worried about our AI assistants eavesdropping on us.
Right. It's like we become so used to the convenience of it all that we don't always stop and think about what we're giving up. But you're right. It does make you think twice.
Definitely. But, a big part of feeling in control is understanding how this stuff actually works, like how these AI assistants actually get smarter. It all boils down to machine learning.
Right. We touched on that earlier, but to be honest, I'm still a little fuzzy on the details. How does machine learning actually work in this, AI assistant world?
Okay, so imagine you're teaching a dog a new trick, right? Every time the dog sits, when you tell it to, you give it a treat. Eventually, the dog learns to connect sit with getting that reward.
Okay, makes sense. But how does that relate to, Spotify knowing I can't stand country music?
Well, it's the same principle, just way more complex. Every time you interact with your AI assistant, like asking for a specific song or skipping a track, even just listening to a playlist all the way through, you're basically giving it feedback.
Right.
And the AI, it uses these fancy algorithms to take that feedback and spot patterns in how you behave.
So let me guess, if I keep skipping past the country music station on my smart speaker.
Exactly. The AI is going to be like, okay, this person is not about that country life. and it'll start to adjust its recommendations.
Wow, it's like it's constantly watching and learning from everything I do, even the stuff I don't explicitly tell it.
Exactly. And the more data it gets, the more accurate and, use-specific its responses become, which is why these companies are, well, kind of obsessed with data collection.
Right, because data is basically the fuel that makes these AI engines run.
Yeah.
But that brings us back to those privacy concerns, right?
Yeah.
How do we make sure all this data is being used responsibly, not, ending up in the wrong hands?
That is the question, isn't it? And honestly, there's no easy answer, but I think one crucial thing is transparency. Like, we need to demand that these companies are upfront about what data they're gathering, how they're using it, who they're sharing it with, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, it's like reading the fine print before you click agree online, except in this case, it's about letting these AI assistants into our homes, our lives,
Exactly. And we need some ground rules, some ethical guidelines to make sure this powerful technology is being used for good, not for,
For becoming Big Brother.
Haha, well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. But speaking of the future, you mentioned AI following us everywhere we go. Smart glasses, those always-on assistants, it's cool, but...
More than a little creepy, too, right?
Yeah, and that's a question we're going to have to answer as a society. Where's the line between helpful and, constantly being watched? And what's okay in one culture might be totally not okay in another.
So how do we even start figuring out the rules for this new world of, AI etiquette?
We got to talk about it openly and honestly, our hopes, our fears, where we want this technology to go. And not just the tech people, but everyday folks like us.
Because at the end of the day, it's our lives.
Exactly. Yeah. This AI future, it's not happening to us. It's something we're building together, whether we realize it or not.
It's a lot to take in, isn't it?
Yeah.
On one hand, you've got these amazing tools that can make life so much easier, connect us in ways we never even imagined. But then
there's that other side of the coin, the what are we giving up part of the equation.
Exactly. And it's not always easy to find that balance between convenience and
control. Yeah. And it makes me think of this quote, I can't remember who said it, but it's like, technology isn't good or bad. It's not neutral either. It's all about how we use it.
And that's really hitting home now with AI, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're talking about machines that learn, that make choices based on what we feed them.
Exactly. And that's a huge responsibility. What are we teaching these machines? What kind of future are we setting up if they keep evolving based on, us?
It's like we're raising a digital generation almost.
That's a great way to put it. And just like with any generation, you got to teach them right, instill some values.
So are you saying we need AI ethics classes now?
Maybe. But seriously, we need diverse voices in this field, not just the tech geniuses, but people from all walks of life to make sure AI reflects, humanity.
So it's not just a tool, it's something that could shape society, for better or worse.
100%.
Right.
And that means you need to speak up, stay informed, make sure our voices are heard.
Okay, so for our listeners out there who are like, this is a lot, where do I even start? What can we actually do to be smarter about AI in our everyday lives?
Awareness is key. Pay attention to what you're sharing, with who. Check those privacy settings on your phone, your smart speaker, all of it. And don't be afraid to ask questions. Knowledge is power, right?
Take control, set some boundaries, make sure AI is working for you, not the other way around.
And remember, this whole thing is still so new. What we do and know you determines where it goes next.
Kind of a lot of pressure, honestly, but also exciting. We get to shape the future of AI. That's kind of cool.
Totally. And if we're careful, if we prioritize, ethics, responsibility, AI could help build a better world for everyone.
Now, that's a note of optimism I like. So, to wrap things up, next time you ask your smart speaker for, the weather or whatever, remember this conversation. There's a lot more going on behind those simple interactions than meets the eye. It's up to all of us to stay informed, stay curious, and demand that this technology is used for good. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone. Until next time, keep asking questions.